Hello, welcome. If you are here to learn more about patient communications and digital engagement, the changing landscape of optionality in 2023 and what your patients are actually preferring, then you're officially in the right spot. But first, little round of introductions on who you're about to spend the next few minutes with. My name is Caitlin Long, and I am the Director of Commercial Product Management here at Bandwidth for specifically our programmable services portfolio. And Bandwidth, if you're unfamiliar or if this is your first time interacting with us, first of all, welcome again. We are a global communications platform. And what we do is we help product leaders and developers just like you embed and integrate voice and messaging capabilities directly into your applications with our suite of APIs. Now, of course, since APIs, communications are the bread and butter of our business, keeping up with what the actual trends are in the market is material and impactful to how we actually run our business. And so when we're looking at trends within the healthcare space, we made an observation over the last couple of years that patient expectations are rising. Expectations are growing and changing and evolving. And so we actually ran a survey of 1,500 respondents, which we'll get to in just a little bit, to see more on what those expectations are, how they're changing, and what you can do to address them. So I'm never one that's a fan of burying the lead, so I wanted to raise this up early on in the presentation and present you with some of our macro level findings. And in generally, what we're seeing is that patients are bringing in outside expectations to the healthcare space. So think about how you interact with a digital or an e-commerce brand and the expectations that you have for responsiveness and interactions from those brands. Well, patients are taking those expectations and bringing them into their healthcare experience, expecting the same type of engagement from their providers. Additionally, your customers, potentially if you're a platform provider or if you're an actual healthcare provider, your patients themselves, the vast majority are expecting immediate engagement. And they want that engagement to be on the digital channels that they demand. And so with that said, if you remember nothing else from this presentation, the main takeaway that I want you to leave with is the fact that patients are demanding more personalized engagement on their preferred digital channels, and they want that in real time. There are a few ways that you can actually address this. And if you think about just the way in which you interact with your healthcare provider today, some of those become pretty apparent. Scheduling. Scheduling is one. So everyone here today, I'm sure you're incredibly busy. If it's an 8 a.m. to a 5 p.m. meeting day, when during that workday are you going to have the time to pick up your phone, call your healthcare provider, who likely doesn't take calls after 4:30 p.m., and actually change the appointment that you have the need to do for, say, tomorrow, for example? And so the messaging channel actually allows that to be incredibly easy, simple, and super convenient for both the provider and the patient themselves. So that's just one way that you can address these expectations through digital channels. Another way is through the very different ways that you could engage or address patients during visits. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit more later on when we address some of the rising expectations and the lingering expectations from the pandemic, but we see the increased need to provide alternatives for visits, whether that's telehealth, telemedicine, being able to reach providers via a video call. Those are different ways that you, as potentially a software platform, enabling other companies and providers to engage with patients, could offer. Or maybe you're a provider yourself and you're looking at ways you could expand your care packages. That's something to look at. A third is just understanding that preferences matter and enabling your customers with communication tools and the ability to select and opt into their preferences is also incredibly important with this rise in expectations that we're seeing. I want to just quickly walk you through the metrics here. So 1,500 patients we surveyed back in the fall of 2022, 25 to 54 plus years old. And as a point of reference, this entire survey was done within the United States. So all of the subsequent data I'm about to walk you through, just place that data into this context. Coming out swinging with the statistics. So of our respondents, 55% of patients will actually elect a communication channel over the healthcare provider. So if you don't offer their preferred communication channel, they're going to go somewhere else for their healthcare. Specific to text messaging, 41% of patients will actually look for a provider based on whether or not they provide text messaging. And for a point of relevance, of this 41%, about half have seen a doctor in the last 6 months. So a significant portion of that population set. The takeaway here is really that multi-channel is necessary to stay competitive here. Your patients demand options, and you need to provide them with those options in order to stay competitive, or else risk losing those patients to another provider. 79% of patients expect communication channels from their healthcare provider to be personalized. So I alluded to this a little bit in the beginning of the presentation, but as it has in many other industries, the pandemic has changed and reset expectations of consumers, of customers, of patients. And when we're looking at our respondents in our survey, the results are no different. 81% of communication expectations have changed since COVID-19. And the takeaway here, which I don't think is surprising, is the fact that what was once innovative is now expected. And so even if this is not something that you had in place, these digital channels to engage your patients with prior to the pandemic, it is definitely something that we will strongly encourage you to look at and evaluate going forward for your business. One more additional proof point there, 65% of patients, I know this is not represented on the slide, but 65% of our respondents have actually made telehealth appointments since 2020. So just another reason to evaluate this for your business if you're not already. Okay, so while I'm talking about all these really cool, awesome new ways that you can engage with your patients, I am sure there are some of you out there that have trigger alarms going off on HIPAA compliance and how am I handling PHI and whether or not these are actually secure methods. And so I do want to address that directly and head on. There are options. So I'm going to walk you through what the data says in a second, but just for your own knowledge, when you're looking at how you treat PHI, there are ways in which you can provide additional assurances on top of that. So Bandwidth actually offers what's called a BAA, or a business associate agreement, where we will sign this on behalf of your traffic that is actually containing that PHI or protected health information, so that it offers you an additional level of insurance on that particular traffic. Now, that said, when we actually look at how comfortable patients are with sending PHI over these digital channels, it's pretty significant. So 56%, a majority of our respondents, said that they would, in fact, be open to sending that over a messaging channel. And then that increases additionally when you start to look at the voice channel, where 66% of patients said that they were comfortable exchanging the PHI over that channel as well. The takeaway here is that patients value the ease and accessibility of these channels over other options like their chart portals that require gated logins, potentially numerous password resets over the years of interacting with their providers. The messaging and voice channels are easy. They're accessible, they use them every day, and clearly most patients are comfortable with exchanging information across those channels. Now, there's additional things that you can do from a business standpoint to ensure HIPAA compliance and ease the mind of your customers, if you're a platform provider, or potentially your patients, if you're a healthcare provider directly. And through that BAA, you're able to do that. We can certainly answer any questions that you have on the BAA after this webinar. So quick recap, we've talked about a lot of numbers and a lot of different insights from the survey. What I want to reinforce, as I did in the beginning, is that optionality is important. Creating additional channels, so a multifaceted approach with which to engage patients is critical. Providing the variety to those patients and imparting choice onto the patient. So giving them the ability to actually choose how they want to interact, when they want to interact, and the frequency of those interactions. All of those are critical to the success of your business in the healthcare space today. I love to land on some very specific customer examples. So when we look at how our customers are meeting the needs of their patients in the market today, I pulled out a couple of good examples of some really great best practices that we see. So a Fortune 500 multi-state healthcare organization actually utilized Bandwidth's communication platform to power their internal communication services and link that with their contact center. So UCaaS, that is something like a Microsoft Teams, for example, a unified communications platform. They used us to link their unified communications platform with that contact center platform. Think like a Genesys solution to be able to orchestrate those communications enterprise-wide. So they're providing a better customer experience for their patients and for their customers directly. And so this is the With Bandwidth You Can. We talked about some of those real-world examples. And so here are those two different portfolios that we can offer to help your business out stay competitive. I believe that business case through the data has really shown that you have to have these digital engagement channels to be able to stay competitive in the market. You need to be investing in these things to be able to have those forward-leaning communications with patients. And so whether you need to schedule appointments, provide the messaging and capabilities to do that, reduce wait times with those alerts and notifications, create some type of interactive voice response system so customers can call in and programmatically navigate claims processes, for example. This is something that Bandwidth can support you in your journey on by providing the capabilities to do that through our APIs. Then on the right-hand side of the screen, you've got your enterprise IT leader, the solution for the internal communications that can be forward-leaning and market-facing, where we're helping you to orchestrate your different communication platforms that you have, because underneath it all are those core capabilities of voice and messaging. And we can sit at that level, orchestrate, and help you better serve your customers through those smart enterprise IT communications. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. As promised, here is the QR code to actually download a report to dig a little bit deeper into the data that we presented high level today. And if you have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help you with anything that you have on your HIPAA compliance, questions on digital engagement, how to improve that patient experience. Thank you.